Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Animated podcast, where I chat with animators and creatives to discuss the ins and outs of their creative process, from sketch phase to final renders. I'm your host, MF Scribbles, and in today's episode, we dive into the creative world of Luke Liscom, a designer, animator, and printmaker based in Savannah, Georgia. During this episode, we discover how Luke's journey from graphic design to animation has shaped his unique style, what inspired his dynamic and energetic visuals. We explore some of his recent projects, including a cinematic piece for a golf client, and we even dive into some of his personal work and projects. During our chat, Luke also shares insights into his creative process, the tools he uses, and how collaboration and experimentation fuels his artistic growth. So, with all that being said, let's get right into it and see how they made it in this episode of And I Made It. How's it going, Luke?
It's going good. How are you doing today?
Good, man. Yeah, been busy. So just starting off, who are you?
Who am I? So I am Luke Liscom. I'm a designer, animator, Rezo printmaker based in Savannah, Georgia. Kind of got my start in graphic design, doing websites and HTML banners back in the day, and fell in love with animation through that. And I've done all kinds of stuff now, doing a lot of commercial work, and then every once in a while I'll do little short film projects and little experimental stuff.
In like a few words, how would you describe your animation style?
In a few words,
or a lot of words, whatever it takes.
Well, the big thing for me coming from graphic is that I definitely focus more on appeal. I love animation that feels dynamic, even if the animation isn't that complex, like Gendy Tartakovsky, like Samurai Jack.
Yeah,
that's kind of my goal. Like I would love just,
I can see that.
It's like one frame, but it just feels like so much energy. So I grew up with that style, love that style, and I'm working towards that myself.
Okay, cool.
Not a few words. A little more than that.
Yeah, so that's a big inspiration for you then?
Yeah, totally. I mean, a lot of Cartoon
Samurai
Network,
Jack.
I think, growing up,
yeah,
in particular. But yeah, Samurai Jack out of all of them.
Cool. So what are some projects, like recent projects you've worked on that you've been like proud of, either client-based or personal work?
There's one I worked on towards the end of last year, which I have things pulled up. I don't know if you want me to like go through them.
Yeah, if you want to start sharing your screen, we can get that started.
So if there's one piece I'd say that I'm really proud of recently, it would be this one, which we finished towards the end of last year. Worked with a team of designers, or I guess I did the design and art direction, and then 2 animators, and got to do this in Moho, which was really fantastic to kind of reach out into like kind of newer emerging software. And the one thing of like being in motion design is like often work is not very exciting, but when you can have a client that's really picks up on a pitch, it does make your life that much more interesting.
Yeah.
So with this client in particular, all they do, they ship your golf bags. That's like their whole shtick, literally. They ship your sticks. And we were able to kind of come up with something that was a little bit more cinematic. Even pitching them to the point of like, this can work without like voiceover or anything like that. Just having an experience for people when they enter into their hotel room. This is just playing in the background. And so we got to really play with a visual style and pacing of this that would work no matter where you kind of picked it up. And doing stuff like that to me was really fun. So like I storyboarded the whole thing, came up with the visual style, came up with the different kind of character designs, color schemes, different poses and stuff, and then actually designed all the keyframes, and then worked with a different animator to do all the compositing to then bring it into animation. That to me is really when I feel like all my skill sets come together. I can help with the animation, but really just focusing on story and design and getting to just play around in that space is always what makes me feel really, really happy about a project.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, so for this like did you pitch it by yourself or were you with a team?
It
It
was me and
sounds
one
like you did
other.
more of the work, most of the work on
It
this.
was me and one other guy,
Okay.
David Urbanati. He got the client, and we kind of ran this through his shop, which is called Rocket Powered Milk Truck. So he did all the pitching to client, and then I would do all of the kind of concepting stuff. So I think he worked with another script writer, and he might have done it all himself. But again, we were kind of planning this to work with or without VO. So it
Hmm.
was more of like the idea of where this is going. And then I did all the different storyboards and stuff to get to this part. But working with David is like one of my. We work on a lot of projects together. We're basically a studio.
Okay. Nice.
Because he's a fantastic animator, and then I get to just focus on design. So help, we both kind of work in each other's strengths and weaknesses.
For sure. For sure. Cool. So like when you're starting this, obviously it looks like you start with. Are you starting with storyboards? Or are you starting with like the design first? Like the um why am I blanking on it right now? Like style frames first.
There's I would show it, but it's a way too messy of a file. There's a Figma file where
Okay.
both of us kind of created a. In fact, I can pull this up, but let me screen it beforehand.
Yeah, yeah,
So if
yeah,
there's
for sure.
nothing in there that you shouldn't be able to see.
Yeah.
Um, but we started with a Figma file. Okay, perfect. So this is that project. Before we even kind of had the script, we knew the general concept.
Yeah.
We know that this was a golf client. They've never done, or they had never done, animated piece like this. Everything was always like live action or small stuff, and they have very minimal branding. So it was kind of up to us to kind of create the look and feel for this. So I created kind of a spectrum of some of my own work and then other people's work, and part of the team of animators that we assembled together their work, and in different kind of ways. So there's like the overall general style, and I created this in like a spectrum, and then different little elements as well. Like how do we want little elements to feel? Pulling different color palettes from their brand, working through the story, um, and then other little things expanding on that, writing some of those details out, playing around with different shot and compositions. So like for these ones, for instance, didn't end up making it into the final piece because we wanted to kind of cut this down a little bit. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it just made it too many cuts. And then from there, it was taking those frames, blowing them up, and making animatic kind of paced out, with our timing.
Yeah.
Um, and then we pitched that whole thing to the client, get feedback, and then got into animation, actual production.
Okay. Okay. And then when you're doing like the animatic, I guess I didn't watch that with sound, but is there like dialogue being said in the background, or is it just like music?
I think when the first one we originally pitched with no voiceover,
Okay.
so it was just music, and then they said, well, we kind of wanted to work with both. So then the second round where we had cut some of those other shots, we delivered both, and I think even final deliverables, same thing. We had one with voiceover and one without.
Got it. Got it. So what like programs are you usually using starting off with like when you're sketching? Like, are you ever sketching things like down on paper, or are you like strictly like digital all the way?
Pretty much digital now, at least for like actual client work. For
Right.
personal work, it really depends. But because oftentimes I'm working with a team, and it's an iterative process, like it's normally digital, so that way I can easily upload it to something like Figma rather than taking screenshots and like having to deal with like weird lighting or whatever if I'm drawing on paper or like
Right.
scanning something in, because then those rough sketches are presented to client. So almost always digitally. I bounce back and forth between using like Procreate or like Rough Animator or stuff like that.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll do like the actual animatic on my iPad. Then we'll break out into design, and that moves around. Like
Yeah.
the first for this project round I did, and this was just internal between the team, of style frames, I did all in Procreate. I just played around with just the colors that we had and kind of color
Okay.
blocking. And then I, for this project, just did, because I knew it was going to be so heavily reliant on compositing for like lighting and,
Yeah.
grain effects and stuff. I did all of that design inside of After Effects. So that way I didn't have to like copy things over and move it and then play around with lighting, grain and
Oh,
stuff.
interesting. So like
Yeah.
the grain effects and everything and like kind of the blurs you're talking about?
Yeah.
You did
Yeah.
that in
So
Procreate before
I did the color blocking in Procreate,
color
and that
blocking in
was just the
Procreate.
one
Okay.
scene. It was the first scene of like the coast.
Yeah.
And then immediately from there on, I was like, this will take way too long to try to do this for every single background and every single character. So I just immediately went into After Effects. So using the storyboards I made, I just traced over everything with the pen
Got it.
tool, and then played around with like color and gradients and grain and focus stuff.
Yeah.
Um, which got us like 80% of the way there for animation. We had to go back and retouch stuff when worked with the other animator, with David, for color and compositing.
Mhm.
But like I said, I feel like it made that pipeline so much easier.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you said this was the first time you were using Moho for a project? Was this
Yeah.
the first time you were
So
ever like using it at all?
no, I've played around with it a couple
Okay.
times before, never on a client project. And even this time around, I was like, I'm still not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
as
You're like
comfortable
still
as other
learning it.
people. But Spiro Bunster, who is an animator, I think in Chile. I've chatted with him a bunch online, and he does a ton of fantastic work in Moho. So that was kind of a new process for me. It was like coming up with what that pipeline looks like.
Yeah.
Because normally doing character animation, I've almost always done it inside of After Effects, which is terrible. I do not recommend it. um, but this time around, because we really had a strong compositing skill set, we're like, okay, we'll just kind of block off these shots. And he was really gracious with us, being like, okay, well, what I need is like, just give me the perspective. Like, I don't need
Yeah.
a full like character rig. I just need the models like in the shot at scale. And Moho works in vector as well, so
Yeah.
he could export that out in 4K, which is what we ended up delivering, 4K HDR too, which is a really weird pipeline.
Right,
And
because
then we
with
were able to
Moho you
just
have
slot
to
things
like
in.
draw. I haven't really used it, but I've watched some videos on it. You have to like draw the characters within Moho, right? You can't like
No, you,
import.
you don't have to.
Okay.
You can, if you want to get like they have like animated brush sets,
Hmm.
but all of those are still just like vector paths. So anything that like, for instance, I designed everything in After Effects, but then I did the characters in Illustrator in like a doll, paper doll maquette thing of like
Yeah.
the A pose and all that stuff. So then I just gave him the Illustrator file, and he could drag that directly into Moho.
Okay.
And Moho works great with like rigging group layers, which you really can't do in most other softwares.
Yeah.
And then creating like smart bones and stuff and masking, to get facial perspective and stuff.
Right.
So once we kind of figured out what we needed from him, he was so fast with it. I mean, he could finish multiple shots in a day.
Oh
And this
wow.
was like a actual animation was about 2-3 weeks. And then there was like approval and like minor things. We ended up adding one extra shot in the beginning at the end of the project, but there was no character animation. It was just the environment.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty cool. So like with Moho, are you when you're doing stuff like head turns, is it like you're just drawing like a side view and a front view and then it like can kind of blends it together when you're
You can do it a couple different ways. It's like an interpolation based animation software, like
right?
After Effects, but built for like traditional cell animators.
Hmm.
Um, so the timeline is very funky to me,
Yeah.
because it's a lot more of like, rather than making a keyframe and working with your Bezier curves to create a type of ease, it's more of like you just need to make another keyframe like you would for I guess like a breakdown in traditional animation. But for like a head, normally you are just using one shape and then playing with masks and stuff to like move the eyes or the
Yeah.
points based off of the bone angle for the
Okay.
rig. But it has smart bones. So if you get too far of an extreme angle that you can't push the first rig, you can have it snap into a whole another art asset. So that works great with like hands or like different finger movements or stuff like that. If you don't want to rig a whole hand into a fist, you can just animate halfway into it and kind of do a snap cut into the rest of the
Right.
fist.
And then I
So
guess
it's great. It's really flexible.
and it works well because like 2D animation usually is like that choppy style anyways.
Yeah.
Like 12 frames per second. So yeah, I've been meaning to like get into it because you have to like pay like a subscription based, right?
No, that's what's great about it. Like
Oh,
they
is it not?
have
It's just
no,
a
it's flat
one-time fee.
rate.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay.
And they have deals all the time. So I first got it because there was a Humble Bundle deal for like, I don't know, like $100, and
Oh wow.
you didn't get the most recent model. I think it's on 14 point something right now, and you got 12. So it was a couple models back. It didn't have releases back, I should say. It
Right,
didn't have everything, but it had enough to like get me familiar with the software.
right.
And then you could upgrade. So they do stuff like that all the time.
Okay.
And even now, if you don't want to buy the most recent release, which I think is $500, and it's a permanent license, you hold that forever.
And then it just it updates
Yeah.
with like
So when they have a new
versions.
major release, I think you pay like $100,
Oh, okay.
or even less to upgrade to the next model, depending on which one you had. And they'll have deals and stuff all the time. They were also at Annecy because they do a lot of work in the entertainment space. I mean, Cartoon Saloon famously uses them.
Oh, okay.
A couple other people have recently been picking them up, and then Motion Design has really been picking it up. There's a couple different studios that are now starting to kind of request it because it's a lot easier to do things and runs a lot better on machines. After Effects is still working on optimizing, a 20-year-old software, but Moho just runs so good and can even do like fluid sims and a bunch of other stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I gotta just like get into it, just sit down with it, and like try and follow tutorials and stuff. I think I tried getting into it maybe like a year and a half ago or something, and I think there just like wasn't a ton of tutorials out for it yet, so it was like kind of difficult. And I was also like in the midst of trying to learn Blender, and I was like, this is too much. Let me just focus on one thing. All right, cool. So yeah, so you said you use Procreate, use After Effects. Now you're using Moho. Are there other programs that you're using? I know you also mentioned Rough Animator.
Yeah. So on iPad, I use Rough Animator a bit. CaliPeg has become my new favorite one.
Oh, okay.
Because it's a little bit more robust, I think, and feels like a more pro software. So I just did a little short film with a friend this past weekend, which was rough because we had zero time to work on it while being also at a conference. So we finished the short film 30 minutes before it was supposed to screen.
Oh, no way.
But that was all done in Cell, in Photoshop, and in CaliPeg. Then I also sometimes will use Procreate Dreams. Last time I used it was right when it came out because I wanted to try it.
Yeah.
And it was okay. I still prefer CaliPeg.
They've definitely fixed a handful of things, and they're
that's what I've been hearing.
I'm like a huge like advocate for them. It's like I just love it. I just like started using it when it first came out, and I've like forced myself to figure out how to do things.
Well, I wish it was Procreate with a better timeline.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's kind of its own thing, which is totally fine. But I wasn't expecting it to be so different. Because like I've tried animating in Procreate before, and it's not fun. I mean, it's like trying to animate in Photoshop. Some people are really good at it, and then that is not me.
You got to find out like the tricks and stuff. The tricks is like grouping layers. If you like, put everything in groups, then it's like, okay, that's one frame, so you can like animate.
Well, and that's I was talking with somebody at a conference last week, and that's what they were saying was that like, and apparently Procreate Dreams 2 was just announced at Annecy.
Yeah, so
whatever that means.
It's the same. It's just an update, but they're saying like they're revamping so many things that they're just calling it 2.
Yeah,
you're not gonna have to buy a new one if you already have it.
I figured.
Yeah,
but I think the whole reason why I didn't go back into it is because things that they're working on for this one, like a lasso tool, didn't exist because they held that whole like smart rasterization thing, which I know they're working on now. So that might be better.
They just started uploading on their TikTok like behind the scenes, like with the lasso tool and stuff finally now, and they're still like, we don't have a release date. It's like I'm just like so upset. I'm like, dude, it's been like a year and a half since you guys released this app. We still don't have a lasso tool.
Maybe when that comes out,
hopefully like sometime this year. It sounds like it's supposed to be sometime this year, but they're just like not giving a release date.
And that's just iPad. I mean, on on my computer, I do After Effects, a little bit of Moho, picking up Cavalry, which is really interesting. I do a lot of Blender stuff,
Okay.
3D, sometimes cinema. So pretty much everything
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
at this point.
It's not. I mean,
Uh,
that's kind of the name of the game with the animation industry. It's like the more programs and knowledge you can pick up, like the better for your wallet. We're trying to
yeah, yeah,
find gigs and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's just hard because there's so many programs. It's like even when you learn a lot, you don't want to spread yourself too thin, and then you're like okay at everything. You want to at least be like
yeah.
pretty professional at a few at least.
What are you saying? Are you calling me unprofessional? Is that what you're calling me?
Yeah, I don't know. Luke, you're really spreading yourself
Pretty
thin.
sketchy
I don't
guy.
know.
Well, it's funny because, like, I mean, a lot of people have been picking up like Rive, for instance, or like Spline and Womp. More
Yeah,
3D
WAP I've been
stuff that's
messing
like
around
web
with too.
based.
There's
Love
so
Womp.
many. There's
Womp's really
so
fun.
many, and it's so exciting. But every time I'm like, here we go again. Now I gotta
Yep.
start back from square one.
Or like people picking up Unreal. It's like I think I've picked my lanes.
Yeah,
And I'm not really interested in picking anything else up.
yeah,
But we'll see.
yeah. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on with different programs. Let me see. Yeah, it's funny. You're actually I want to say like third. I think you're the third or maybe even the fourth person to mention Rough Animator because I've already mentioned it a couple times in the other episodes, but I met the guy who like developed that app at this like art meetup thing here in New York. It was just like a drink and draw meetup. But I heard of the app before, and then once I met him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I developed this app," and I was like, "Oh, I've pretty sure I've heard of it." Like downloaded it, and then yeah, now that I've been like interviewing all these people, so many people are like, "Oh, Rough Animator, I use all the time, love it," and I'm like, "Damn, that's crazy." This guy, like, he's just like this young dude to just like develop this app, and
Well, and I think Rough Animator came out
sounds
at
like
the
it's doing
perfect
pretty well.
time too, where I think the iPad Pro had just come out, and there's no animation apps on there. Now there's like even more, than the ones we've talked about. I mean, there's this one which I would not really call it a serious animation app, but it's a really fun animation app that's just kind of like something to play around with.
Yeah,
And Rough Animator felt that way to me. I mean, rough is in the name.
yeah.
It felt like just a easy way to kind of get into traditional or cell animation, frame by frame animation. I'm never sure way to call it because people will get offended if you say cell animation, but you're doing it digitally. And
Oh,
then frame
because
by
I
frame
know.
also, yeah.
I know. Well, these days it's
Loom.
like, is anyone actually doing cell animation unless it's like
No,
specifically for the
I
project?
think, well, yeah, not even in like traditional anime. Like I know they do pencil tests, but I think cleanup and stuff is all still done digitally.
Yeah, that's all
Um,
digital now.
but Loom is an animation app that's also really fun, and I kind of use bounce between the two of them. If I'm
Is
just
that
like,
also on the iPad?
yeah, it's Loom with 3 O's,
Three
but it
O's.
has
I
like
don't think I've heard of that.
it's developed by a video game company, I think. But it's
Okay.
interesting because you have a very, let's see if I can do this here. You have a very limited kind of color palette that you can choose from.
Oh,
But
okay.
instead of having a timeline, you have like a little reel.
Oh,
And each one of those is the frame. So you can animate frame by frame, but you can also like press play and then animate while it's
well, it's
playing.
moving. Okay.
Yeah.
That's super similar to PX12, which I've been messing with. Um,
PX12. Where's that on?
that's also on the iPad. That one's a little bit more like trippy. I feel like experimental, but it was developed by uh, like an art director from Adult Swim,
Okay.
and he like just found out about it recently. But he made it for like with the idea of like making like VJs, like doing it during like live music and stuff, or
Hmm.
like I guess hoping people could use it for that. Because it's just very impromptu. It's like you can't do any type of actual like animation with it. It's just like you're drawing, and then it's like you can tweak the different settings, and it's like it'll change it to like pixel looking art, and sometimes it's like flashing, or you change it and then it's like it's not flashing but it's jittering. It's pretty cool. It takes a while for your brain to like figure out the tools because every little like tweak is just like completely different what you draw. But I had fun playing around with it. But it's yeah, it seems super similar to that. So yeah, I would love to download Loom and give that a shot as well.
Yeah. Again, these are like, I think they're apps that are just fun to remember why we do this. Like, animation can be very not fun
Yeah.
a lot of the time because it can be very tedious. And then when you get edits, especially if you're doing things in a certain way, it can be very hard to remember that it's fun.
Yeah.
But like picking up these little apps that they don't take themselves seriously and they don't ask you to either. Like I remember when I first picked up Rough Animator, and you can like go on my Instagram and look at these. I just did like stupid little character walk cycles or like a head turn, and it was genuinely fun, and it's made me feel the wonder of it all again.
Yeah.
So being
Yeah,
able
like
to
forces you to
do it
like
and play
play.
with it.
Yeah, it forces you
Yeah,
to play
yeah,
rather than think strategically of like what you're trying to accomplish. It's just kind of like, because you don't get that with animation really. It's not like painting
yeah.
where you're just kind of like paint a little color here and let's see what happens. It's like you have to build a foundation for your animation and then build onto it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, any of those little apps I'm always looking for.
Yeah. All right, cool. You want to go into some of your other work, like maybe some of your personal work, and go through, yeah, your process with those. Maybe
Yeah, I
showing
have
off like some
two.
brushes that you like using and stuff.
Sure, I'll show off two little films that I made. I'll start with the first one because I feel like it's a kind of relevant, in the terms of AI.
Yeah.
Um, I found out that I kind of work like for my personal projects. I like using them as a way of kind of like understanding my world, I guess, or
Okay.
just thinking through things.
Yeah.
So I worked on this one, gosh, 2022 maybe, like right after Midjourney launched, and I was like, what does this mean? All these things. Like, is it over? Did I really choose the wrong career?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, no. Like, I'll seek to understand. That's kind of my philosophy in general. So I was like, okay, well, I'll try to understand this. So this project, and I had also never done 3D character animation before, which was a very interesting thing. But in this project, what I did was just spent time learning it. I didn't give myself a very big timeline on this. I think I did it in a month.
Okay.
But I was like, okay, how can I use this in a way, using AI, in a way that felt not like slimy? And I've seen people kind of do different approaches and stuff with this. But what I started was, you can go watch the whole thing on my website, all of you viewers. I started with concept.
Okay.
Because for this thing, I had a general idea. I wanted to kind of talk about what it feels like to explore an art museum, because that felt very topical with generated art.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's just think through a bunch of different museums. I'll just plug in there different art museums with the central layout and stuff like that. Came up with a bunch of different stuff. Basically using this as an assisted art director, or like as a concept artist, I guess. Same thing with like what kind of paintings
Mm-hmm.
and stuff in here. I did characters, but that kind of really sucked. But there were little elements of doing it that I was like, okay, I could make this work. Took all of this stuff, made sketches from it, just to kind of, again, to quickly bypass making 100 different drawings of
Right.
something. Boarded the whole thing out, built it rigged in Blender. And then even in animation, I played around with a couple different things. There's like AI capture, where you can feed it a video and it will take placement of the different bones on your own body
Oh
and
yeah.
apply it to a rig.
I've
And
used
then I
some of
used
that. What
stuff
was that?
like Mixamo.
Mixamo. Yeah.
So it was It was interesting. So the final piece ended up being a mix of everything, and I even wrote like a whole little paper about it.
Oh, cool.
So like this shot was I acted this out and had it, and you can kind of tell the shot was like I hand keyframed, everything.
Mhm.
The shot is Mixamo. So it's like it was a mix of a bunch of different
Yeah.
things to get the idea across. But to be able to go from nothing to a whole film um, in a month, and then even at the end, I gave a disclaimer because I was like, it didn't feel right to lie, I guess. Um,
Oh,
and
just
even
saying
showing,
that you use AI at the beginning
yeah.
concept,
So
right?
this video contains textures, concepts, and motion capture data that was created using machine learning tools. All other elements were created by a human like you. I felt like that was important. Like
Yeah.
even though some might argue that it was like it would be no different than using stock assets the way that I approached it in
Right.
this. These ideas still came from somewhere. I don't know where
Right.
because after the fact, and this is crazy. 3 years now from here, I look at this piece in a very different way.
Yeah.
But still learned a lot from it. And then a couple months after,
How so?
I
Why do
worked
you
on it.
think you see it in a different way?
The world's just a very different place now. I mean, when I did that one, I was very excited just in general because I was learning a new skill. I was learning 3D animation. Was excited about it. And then I was like, oh, there's this very new thing that no one really understands yet. And I'm kind of being the first to kind of explore
Yeah.
this, especially in like the animation space. Because this was before whatever that Disney show that like made the whole title sequence that was
AI.
generated.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not
And
a
even
yeah
before, you
familiar.
know, Meta's AI video software and now VO3 or whatever. Um, so it's like looking back on it, even though it was only just a couple years ago, it does feel somewhat childish of like, oh, like you're looking at this very optimistic and like this
Yeah.
will be a very interesting way of including this in your process, and then now being like, oh no, that thing that you were playing around with, it killed your dog and is trying to steal your identity. Like that's
Yeah, now it's just
very
like
very
cute.
different.
Yeah, because now you went from that to now AI can literally make that entire thing for you with like,
Yes, and
yeah,
probably very close to the exact same way that I did it.
yeah,
um but at least I did it and I understand the whole process a little bit more, and I learned things outside of just using AI.
hmm
Like I got to learn rigging and animating in a couple different ways. What is it like to clean up motion capture data? Spoiler alert, it's not fun.
yeah.
What's
I've
it
I've
like?
messed with that before. Yeah, it's just like because it makes like every single frame. It
Yes.
gives you something on every single frame.
Yes.
So it's like, oh god, now I got to go back and like delete all this stuff and pick out
Yep.
the
Clean it up and
keyframes.
then
Yeah,
ease something.
yeah,
But then that kind of led me into this project. So I went from 3D to completely 2D. And this was my first time doing a piece that was all cell, which was very interesting.
mm.
I did a little bit of After Effects in here, which is these frames, but everything else was done um, frame by frame animation, and this was all done in CaliPeg. Uh,
Oh wow, okay,
so this was great.
yeah,
This was another kind of fun process of like, okay, I'll create a short film to kind of learn a new thing. And at the time, I felt very trapped kind of in animation. And I used this as like a journey of feeling like I was being picked, and I'm withering away a little
mm.
bit. So this again was a little bit cathartic, but similar process to a lot of the yeah, that was loud.
No,
Sorry.
you're good.
Other kind of things that I've worked on. So that's kind of what my personal work is like. Um, at least when it comes to like full on projects, my stuff that I post on like social, those are always just like little ideas.
Yeah.
Like playing with Moho, for instance. I've done a lot of that on the gram. So this piece was all Moho.
Oh, okay.
simple kind of rigs. But again, I think that's where playing with stuff, like where that can belong, and kind of how I use social, or even like this one. Yeah, it was another one. And I think I had even posted on my story at the time what the actual rig looked like for this. Uh, that was fun. And then this one was done in Dreams. So
Okay.
that's normally how my personal projects go.
Yeah, yeah, I like those. Yeah, I noticed like on a lot of your personal work. I mean, I guess also even on the client, like the golf client project that you did, you do a lot of like kind of blurring on the edges and stuff. Is that in After Effects you're adding those?
Sometimes the Ship 6 one, yeah, we liked the idea of, because we were going for a cinematic feel,
Hmm.
like actually using cinematic language. So we played a lot with like framing and landscaped. But I love the charm of 2D. Like even when I'm working in 3D, I like it to feel a little bit more two
Yeah,
dimensional. So like more, I guess, intentional. So even with that, we ended up creating like depth passes and like using cameras, digitally inside of it to get some of that like bokeh
right.
type stuff, or like a solar flare, um, where yeah, I could go in there and draw those out frame by frame,
Yeah, yeah,
but I don't know how that works. So
yeah.
it's like,
Was that
what's a
so?
shortcut?
Uh, Using like cameras and stuff, or are you using that in? Does Moho have like cameras or?
Moho does,
Okay.
but since we did all the compositing in After Effects,
Hmm.
we were able to
Okay, so you
just
did it in After
figure
Effects. Okay.
out. So when we were designing camera moves or any blurring or anything like that, we would use like basically just cards for where the characters were going to be. Because I don't think we have any movements where characters are moving through space.
Right.
They're kind of always in one spot. So that made life easier
Hmm.
in that way. But who knows? Maybe the next project I'll do a whole crazy orbiting shot, or like a
Yeah.
fisheye lens,
Yeah. 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 Definitely. You're so. It seems like you like to experiment a lot, which is also how I am too. It's like hard. I don't know if you run into the issue of like feeling like you struggle to have like a very specific style that you like can show off. I mean, I feel like you're looking at your like Instagram and stuff. It looks like you've got a pretty solid style, but that's something I've run into a lot and struggled with just because I like to experiment with so many different things. And then sometimes I experiment with something and it looks completely different than other stuff I make, but I really like it. So I'm like, I'm gonna share it, whatever. Like I'll
yeah.
post it. Like I'm proud of this, and yeah. But yeah, it always just I don't really care too much about like the social media aspect of it, but the just when like I'm reaching out to clients and stuff, if they're looking at my work and then they're like, "Oh, cool, you're a 3D animator," but then you go to another page and it's like all 2D stuff, they might
Yeah.
miss it.
Well, that's like I had to recut a demo reel, and I don't know. Looking at my work, I definitely feel like I'm approaching something. Because like if you scroll down far enough on my Instagram, you see where I definitely did not have that look,
Hmm.
and even exploring things of like really, it's been in the past 2 years that I've really got back into like drawing, because I was doing graphic design. You never really had a reason to do that,
Right.
and all motion stuff was also very much kind of a reflection of that, working with clients and doing stuff with type or shapes or photos. But I've really started to play around with that, basically based on my community. When I moved to Savannah, there weren't any motion meetups. There wasn't a creative mornings, there wasn't AIGA, there wasn't anything. The only thing I found was a drink and draw event,
Oh, okay.
and there weren't any animators there, but there were comic artists, and some of the most fantastic comic artists like that I've ever met.
Oh
But
yeah.
my introduction to comics was coming to Savannah. So, well, like Jamie Jones and Mike Becker, Anthony Barbara, like these are people who live here and have kind of helped me shape that a little bit. And so now, yeah, looking at my Instagram, I definitely feel like I've been able to explore that and bring ideas down.
Hmm.
And I think something that's also helped that is like I'm using a very similar color palette just for
Yeah.
Instagram, so it makes it all feel the same.
Yeah. Now that you say that, actually, looking at your stuff, it almost feels very graphic novel-y. If it's
Yeah, I
like
think
they
that's
look
that.
very illustrative, like a graphic novel come to life.
It's that Samurai Jack. I mean, even this piece. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
that's so Samurai Jack.
yeah. It's cool though because it's different. It's different enough that I wouldn't look at that and be like, "Oh, he ripped off Samurai Jack," or like that was his main
Yeah,
inspiration. But now that you say it, like, yeah, I definitely see where
yeah.
that inspiration's coming from.
I
What
mean,
other like inspirations do you have besides?
the most recent one, kind of going back into comics and why I got into printmaking,
Yeah,
is Piao. I mean, I love. See, this is one of my favorite one that I show off all the time. So they are and were kind of complicated. A indie publishing company. But it was like two guys, and they had a third person who basically they were doing this for a long time, and they had a reason when they made comics. But then they closed their doors during the pandemic, and then they came back. So they were Piao. Now they're Piao 2, but it's like it's
okay.
still the same folks doing it. But they have some of the most well done. It's just craft. Like that's one thing I love. Like whether it's somebody who makes ceramics or woodworking boxes or like prints, this feels so well crafted. Like even though it's very, I don't know if a fine artist were to look at this, they would be like very reductive. Maybe the styles in here are not very complicated,
Yeah,
but they are so effective in telling stories with, I mean, two colors and sometimes just one color.
yeah, I love
And
that
so like
look. The very limited
there's
color
shots in
palette.
here that just blow me away. It's like one of the first ones, and I look at it and it's like this could be a print. Like you don't need anything else.
Yeah.
Like hold on, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, like
Oh
that.
yeah, that's
Ah,
so cool. Yeah, I love
like
that.
that is so well done, and that's what gets me inspired. Is like really this. Even though the thing of this is, I mean, it's a book. This was the fourth one of their anthology series, and they just came out with one at the beginning of this year. But they got started just making little zines. This one, which is Rizo,
Oh,
and
okay.
so like I think this is maybe what 10 pages, something like that. But like now I have access to a machine right there.
Nice.
And I can do that.
You can make
Like
your own
that's
little
what I
zines
enjoy
and stuff.
about the internet is when I see something that inspires me so much to the point where I can be like, you know what? I admire this so much that I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's where my like experiment presence comes from. Is I just see things and I'm like, I want in on that. I
Yeah,
want in
yeah,
on
yeah.
that I want in on that action.
Yeah.
And it's picking up new skills, it's learning about the world, it's being able to tell stories and work with amazing people. Like that's just we just get to do that. And you can do that at any time. That's insane.
Yeah.
Because most people don't, most people just like to get in the grind and go home, and that's totally okay. You can have both someone who likes to stay up till midnight just for fun and work on a comic, even though he's never made a comic before.
Hmm.
And he just likes printing. That's me. Or, you could work at Google and you can just push some keyframes around for a YouTube ad.
Yeah.
That's also beautiful. Like, whatever floats your boat, all ships rise with the tide, whatever the expression you want to pick. So for me, recently, it's this. Ask me again in 2 months, and it'll probably like
Yeah, be a new
something totally
artist.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, artisan. I'm a cake artist. Like who
Yeah,
knows?
I saw in cake it inspired me. Now I'm just baking all the time. I don't even animate anymore.
Exactly.
So for that company, they're like a printing company?
Yeah, they're like publishing
Oh,
a
okay.
small press.
Okay, so they do small
So
pub. And then
yeah,
with the
they have
income
some
they
big
make from
artists that they
that,
work
they
with.
make their own projects.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I think both do it part time. They travel around to like Tronic Comic Art Festival. I think they were just there. They do, is it Momo? Something like that in New York.
Oh
There's
yeah.
a big like anime and comics convention. So they'll like travel around with all their stuff and they'll sell. They also have an online store. One guy I think is based in Switzerland. He's a designer. The other guy's based in Chicago. He's a comic artist, but he's also a graphic designer for I think it's Lost in Cult. which is the it's a like artist video game art book company. So they do all these like beautiful books. I think they just did one for Outer Wilds, and it's like a whole box set, with the behind the scenes and
Yeah.
stuff written by people in the company.
Oh,
So
so
like
cool.
that's what he does for a job, and then on the side they started this, I think, in 2018 ish.
Okay.
So they did it for a long time, and I've slowly been like going on eBay and like collecting things that are out of print. Because when I had heard about them, they had retired. That's how they put
Right.
it. And then like right as I started buying up, things on eBay for 10x price, they're like, "Oh, we're coming back and we're doing some reprints." And I was like, "Of course, I'm so happy for you."
Oh man, that's funny. Since we're still kind of on the topic of your style, what would you say there's like a specific shape language that you like to stick to whenever you're gonna make a new piece? Like, are you like thinking like, okay, I want to need round edges, or I want very angular pieces?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think originally, because I was not very comfortable in my drawing skills, I guess I should say my draftsmanship, if we're going to be correct here, I played around with primitives, like some of the stuff is like it is just a circle or a very straight lines. But then I've been exploring more and more into the world of like painting. James Gurney, I think, has become a big inspiration for me. Or Tim McBurney, I think, is another guy. Both of them have YouTube channels, which I'd highly recommend. And they both have books. One's a comic artist. James Gurney is the guy who invented Dinotopia, which was a novel in a series. He does a bunch of other stuff. But playing around with light, I think now is more of where I'm focusing. So what the form and shape language looks like really depends on the subject. So it's evolving, which I enjoy. Like, for instance, will it? Okay, here we go. It was like not letting me share for a second. So like going back, looking at like this one, which we looked at, or like even this to an extent, things were very, I mean, those are like what 45-degree lines, like keeping it very straight, leaning into that graphic approach.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know much else, and I still do enjoy that, kind of breaking space. But then, like, I think this is where I'm starting to really play around with both of those ideas of like there is dimension in here, but still pretty straight, graphic shapes.
Yeah.
And then just using color and light to break that. And now I'm getting even more into that world of like this one. Like, who knows what these shapes are? Because I'm playing more around with feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like that. Was that all in Procreate?
Yeah, this is all Procreate.
Nice.
Or like even this one, which I did recently, this was done in Procreate. Just the overlap or like UVs were painted in Procreate, and then I played around with doing that in Blender, and then doing compositing in After Effects.
We have a very similar workflow, I feel, with my other actual like illustrative stuff. I love adding like grain and going into After Effects and just like putting like very like subtle effects and stuff on there, but it really like elevates it so much. Like that blur, like I love the blur that you put like at the bottom of that one.
Like I mean, this one is a really big blur, playing just with silhouette and lighting.
Yeah.
Or even like, I don't know, for instance, this one, I think about this one a lot because this was semi-recent. This is the beginning of this year.
Oh, okay.
But to me, it was funny because it was the direct result of exploring the real world. I don't even talk about it here. There was my local art museum in Savannah, Telfair, had an exhibition by this guy, Jim Campbell. And it was a very interesting exhibition. I think it's still up. But it was just a bunch of different like LEDs and like doing different things with them that were really interesting. And one piece in particular was just LEDs draped from the ceiling, and he somehow made them project archival footage from like family videos that he just bought online.
Oh, really?
Like he bought like home videos like on tape
Mm.
and ran it through this thing, and it would just like project this like dreamy blurred out light scene on this wall,
Oh, that's so cool. But
still
using
being kind of
the
covered.
using the footage.
Yeah, and I was so interested by that idea, and I tried to pitch this on a client project, and they liked it up until they didn't. So I was like, okay, I'll just repurpose this. But all these gradients and colors, it's just footage
Yeah.
from I think it was like on Internet Archive. It was footage of road trips across America.
Mm.
Uh, and it looks like it's moving around and all this crazy stuff, but it's not. It's just these clips back to back with a small opacity on top of each other, so they're blending into each other,
Okay.
but then sped up. But like that's it. And to
Yeah.
me, I was like, oh, this came out like so cool.
Yeah.
Um, and to me, it had a really interesting story, and that's kind of how I feel like all of my styles are.
Yeah, that one gives me very much like like Gen X soft core vibes. You know what I'm talking about? Like those albums and stuff that like, which I love. I
I
love
mean,
those like
I can
Y2K kind
definitely
of.
feel a
Yeah.
little bit of there's a kind of like reclaiming. This is getting kind of off topic, but somebody was talking about how there was like the lost generation before the baby boomers, where they
Mm.
kind of didn't have an identity because they were in between, you know, world changing events, and how in a way culturally a lot of Gen Z / Gen Alpha are kind of experiencing that, and so they're reclaiming what has been forgotten of like people picking up digital cameras
Yeah.
from like the early 2000s and like using those instead of using your phone, or picking up vinyl, or a lot of people are getting back into cassettes um as a way of like anchoring themselves.
Yeah.
And I haven't quite fallen down that rabbit hole yet, but I definitely think there's something worth what those people are doing, and kind of like this, like looking back to things.
Yeah.
It's not always about creating something new or off the top of your head. Sometimes looking at what's around you and like looking to the past can be really like helpful. So thanks for coming to my TED Talk, I guess.
No, yeah, I totally agree though. That it's like it's seeing everything with like a brand new, fresh perspective. That because
Yeah.
the times when that technology was coming out of buying like the camcorders and stuff and using the filming on tape all the time, it was like to us it was just like, oh, this is just so new. So it was like just exciting
Yeah.
to be like, let's just film anything, and then I want to just watch it back and like figure out how to edit. Now it's like these people that like have had these little devices in their pocket that can just do that, right? And they know all these crazy editing skills, but now they're like, let's like use that. Let's use the old stuff
Yeah.
with like our skills now. It's crazy to me how much like the young, like even just younger generation, people that are even just like 10 years younger, how like advanced their art skills are because they just grew up in a world where it's like all these programs were like out already and they could just mess with it. And it's just like,
Yeah.
it's blowing my mind seeing like some artists I follow online and then finding out how young they are. And I'm just like, what? Like, how are you already developing this much work at that age? It's crazy.
Well, I think it's twofold. I think you're right. It's exposure. But then it's also like a numbers thing. Like, I don't know about you, but it feels like now there's way more people that are identifying as artists or that are in the artist space that are younger.
Yeah.
Versus like when we started to get into it, it was still newer, like newish, especially in motion and animation. Like there wasn't really an online presence for animators. But now it's like, not only is it like us and a lot of other people and people that I admire doing it, but it's also like you're saying, the younger generation that's either in high school or just getting into college that have had access to tutorials and stuff since they were, 8.
Yeah.
And have just been doing what we're doing, but with an earlier start. And not everyone is as good, but there's so much more people doing it now, which is fantastic. There's access that you are starting to see the people who do really have a lot of time and talent poured into this that are getting to thrive, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Like I can't be mad at that.
No, not at all. Yeah.
The world, especially now, you know, with AI and everything, we need more talented artists.
Mhm.
So I can't wait to see what that looks like in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, what does animation look like now when we have generative video?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I honestly don't think it's gonna like kill animation because people
Yeah.
love to do it no matter what. It's like the people that like to do it are still gonna do it. And I feel like the people that are messing with generative AI, they're just gonna, in my opinion, I think they're just gonna get bored of it eventually because there's no like fulfillment out of like that creativity when it takes 2 seconds for you to like type something in. It's like
Yeah.
that creative part. So I think it's just going to be like a blend of both of them. You know, it's
Yeah.
going to be like the animators who using it to get bypass the boring stuff or bypass like the expensive stuff. You know, if you
Yeah.
if you're like I want to make this, I can't afford another animator to hire, and I also don't want to spend 6 years of my life making this. That's when you're like, let's use a little bit of AI to help me out with this. Cool. So you, like me, are also a big advocate of using your iPad when you work. What's like some of your favorite places to work?
I have a 3-year-old who's going to be 4 in November. So I definitely am moving around a lot, which is why, like, I have a PC rig that I built,
Yeah.
um, and I never use it
Yeah.
for that reason. Like, everything has just become my MacBook and my iPad, and like if I am using my computer now, it's basically a server at this point, and so it's just for rendering. But I have this setup here, which I sent you a picture of,
Yeah.
which might be
It'll
included
be
in all of
included. It'll be
this.
included
We'll
for
see.
sure.
And I've designed it in a way that it's just one cord, you know, so I can so easily just plug something in or have a guest come over and plug something in, and it all just works. Because to me, like, being able to create, I need to get in it
Yeah.
and out of it as quickly as possible. So I move around a lot. I will either be at my desk most of the day, or I'll like go downstairs to the couch. And like if I'm in a spot where I can have second screen content, which is what I call it, of like having a YouTube video up or watching a show,
Yeah.
that's great. Also, like getting out of the house.
Yeah.
So one of the things I used to do a lot more of, not as much anymore, I had something called Get Shit Done Club, which is a bunch of artists and creatives around town. We'd meet up every Saturday morning early. Like I'd get out there at 7 a.m. to 11, and that time frame, those like 4-ish hours, were just to be making and to be making with other people.
Yeah.
We don't all have to be working on the same thing or even similar disciplines,
Yeah.
but just working kept me inspired to make a lot of stuff. So I still try to do that as often as I can, even if it's not with that same group of people, just taking a few hours once or twice a week to get outside and make something
Yeah.
outside the house. To me, feels really like healthy.
Oh
So
yeah,
that
for
way,
sure.
the burnout, it helps with burnout, I think.
Yeah. Sometimes it just takes like a simple environment change to then just like click that part of your brain back on of like, okay, now I'm
Yeah.
feeling inspired again. Yeah. Yeah, that's why
And
I was like,
remove the distractions and the comfortability of like I have these books and all these beautiful things in the Rezo and like, you know,
yeah,
my computer, or I can play games, like all these things
yeah,
that I've built my space to work so well for me, that I can easily just be like, I can get back into working so easily that
yeah.
I'll just play like Smash Bros for an hour and like, you know,
Yeah, I
something.
know. It's very dangerous. I'm on the same boat. That even, yeah, because I'm always like sitting, yeah, I work on my iPad that sits in front of my Cintiq that's like behind it because it's
Yeah.
just like I just like being able to be like, okay, like I'm getting kind of burnt out. Let me just grab this and go somewhere else. But it is kind of, it is kind of laughable a little bit when I'm working on this like small screen and there's like this huge expensive screen right behind it. It's like, why am I not using that?
Yeah, same. I like the PC. I don't know if I can get an angle.
Yeah, that little pink desk is your workstation.
Uh, there it is. So there's a dual monitor. Yeah, right there. Uh, there's a dual monitor setup, and one of them is a drawing display that's, 24, 27 inches, whatever it is, on an arm that I can like move and work however I want, I maybe use it like 3 times a year.
Yeah.
And that's so sad. But
yeah,
hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's just the point of life I'm at.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it just goes back to that thing of like the less friction there is between making something and and taking a break, the better, because you don't want to like, it's like that ample time. There's times when you might be like inspired and then you boot up your computer and open up the programs and get everything loaded up, and by that time you're like, I don't know, do I want to do this?
I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, going back to, you were saying about sitting on your couch watching some like a second screen to consume media, which kind of leads into my next question I have here is, what other forms of media do you consume while you're working?
Audiobooks are the big one. There's this like weird liminal space of working on projects that I can listen to stuff or consume other stuff, and then other things I can't. Like if I'm working on a video that has a lot of voiceover, and you have to match up stuff or like, lip sync, impossible. Like that's just the point where you're like, all right, this is so boring, but I just gotta like lock in and get it done. But when I can do it, like even now I'm working on a project that's a timeline video, so it's not so structured that things need to land on beats, that I turn off the voiceover, and I'll just listen to audiobooks and cruise. I used to do it with music, but now that I have a kid, I kind of have to have like one ear open to make sure she's not burning down the house or something. So it's kind of shifted to that. She's going to be going into school at the end of the year, so I might hop back into music, because I just feel like listening to music is the perfect thing for this.
Yeah.
Like different shifts in vibes for the music you're listening to really helps create that pacing, especially if you're doing like a 5-hour session of just pure animation.
Yeah.
Like, you can really get locked in, and then, you blink and all of a sudden you're done.
Yeah.
I always enjoy that with animation. And then
you hit that flow state.
Like my favorite thing. Yeah. My favorite thing is like after you get through that flow state is just watching the thing. Like, I don't know if you're like me, but like I'll finish something for Instagram or my reel. I probably watched my reel more than anyone who's ever watched this.
Yeah. You watch it like 50
but I'll still
times
go back.
Before you post it.
And I'll still go back and watch it and being like, oh, when I need to change that out, or like, what I just,
Yeah.
But I do love that, because in a weird way, it kind of makes me forget that that's like my work. So I can kind of just like look at it and kind of enjoy it.
Yeah.
But then I'll like flip will switch again and be like, oh wait, like I did that? That's crazy. There's no way.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. Yeah, I'm definitely also like, I love listening to music when I'm working, and like, when you hit that flow state, when like, even though I know it's, not good for you, but when I hit that flow state where I like completely forget to eat anything all day, that's like the best, when I've gone through all day and then I'm like, it's like 5 o'clock rolls around and I'm like, have I eaten today? I skipped breakfast and I didn't eat lunch. I was like, I should eat something. But it's like, that's when I'm actually like making something really cool, when you're like that deep into whatever you're making. So
yeah, the 3 coffees, no lunch club.
Yeah.
I'm right in there.
Yeah. Sometimes I want to just be like slightly, having those coffee sweats when I'm working. Sometimes I go, people are like, you ever get those coffee sweats? I'm like, yeah, I love it.
False adrenaline. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. But yeah, since you do actually like work with a lot of teams, with like that project you're showing, and I'm sure like many other ones, when you're working with a team, how do you usually communicate your vision with your team, like as accurately as possible? I guess you kind of went into this at the beginning, but
but it's, I don't know, we were talking about this. So I had that animation screening that we submitted the thing 30 minutes before, and for that one I had zero motivation. So the guy I was working with, I was like, just tell me what to do. Which I like moving back and forth, when it is something where someone's coming to me and like, Like the Ship 6 one, David had this project from a client and was like, I just really want to make something special. Like, just go all out and let's make it happen. But I've found and I don't know how you feel, it's rare that inspiration is ever so readily available. So I kind of have to like work at it like a muscle. And oftentimes what that looks like is like, okay, that's getting books, that's getting reference, that's getting all these things, that's doing those initial reps to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm ready for my PR.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I'm going to hit my first style frame for this thing. And it sucks. But you're like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's close. It's so close. That's the point where it's just drawing. Like that's, I think the big reason why I got back into drawing was that is the closest process from brain to the world, like there's very little filters there other than just skill of like being a good draftsman, which again, a muscle that you got to develop. I do figure drawing. I do all these different perspective drawings and all these things that I have to practice just to get slowly better. But there's nothing like that feeling of when you have an idea and you can translate that just by drawing something quickly. Like that Figma board I showed earlier, didn't want to show you a lot of that stuff because we were just drawing directly in Figma with a mouse. And so it looks bad.
Yeah.
And then we got on a tangent in there of like basically just graffiti. So
It's just a bunch
if
of
the client, if the client
everywhere.
ever saw that, they would fire us immediately. But it allowed us to do that. It allowed us to go straight from our brain out into the world. And I tried to be, because I was an art director before I was at my last job, being an animator. And a lot of that job is how to sell your ideas to a client. And a lot of times that's not just one idea, that's 3 ideas.
Yeah.
And you need to be equally proud of all of them. So I've had to practice that a lot. And that's in the moment can be very stressful. But if you have learned it the right way, which hopefully I have, a lot of that rationale and stuff is decided before you ever get to the point of like presenting your ideas. Like as I'm coming up with new ideas, I'm thinking about, okay, why would I do this? What makes this better than this one or different than this one? So that way, by the time, hi Shelby, sorry, by the time I finally get to that point, I know the idea so well that I can talk about it at length. But it's not instantly the idea is not immediately there.
Yeah.
It's something that really does take some time to get to. But then once I am there, I feel like I've become a director at that point.
Right.
Like I've earned that title in that time, in that role, in that project, because I know the thing so well. I can continue to say, okay, no, this is where we're going.
Yeah.
So like even on the Ship 6 one, working with David for compositing and animation, he would come up with a couple different things and be like, okay, do you think this works, or should we kind of go back to what we had? So still giving room for people with their own ideas, but also being like, okay, well, let's look at the brief, let's look at the original concept and see if that falls in line with this thing or if we should dial it back.
Right.
So we've had to do that a couple times, but I don't know. Sometimes really fun ideas come from other people's own little direction.
Yeah, for sure. Has there ever been like a time that you can think of where working with a client or collaborating with another artist had elevated your work in an unexpected way?
Elevated my work? No. Sometimes it feels like it's the other way around.
That's fair.
But I don't know, like I guess all the time. I mean, being in commercial animation, my whole reel is client decisions, So it's like, yeah, in a way, everything I do has become better because of clients. Because without them, I mean, I'd still be animating, but definitely not as much. I was talking with a client a week, 2 weeks ago, and they didn't have a very big budget. And that's something I'm starting to think about of like, okay, well, if we don't have a big budget, that doesn't mean it's going to be less good.
Yeah.
It's just going to be different. So it's like, how do we create something that's sustainable for that budget, but is equally, fulfilling for the client as it is for me to create. And that's where those conversations come in. They're never really like, oh, I don't like that color. I mean, that does happen.
Yeah.
And I don't think those types of client decisions really affect the piece, better or worse.
Right.
It's more of like, hey, this is our goal for this. We want to celebrate something. We want to explain something. We want to show something that can't be shown otherwise. Here's how we're feeling about it. What would you do? And then we meet in the middle. And it's those conversations that I feel like make something better.
Yeah.
But better is arbitrary, so it's better because it's accomplishing what they want
Right.
with what I want.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's fair. I usually ask people about like getting through creative block, but I feel like you kind of mentioned that earlier with the kind of getting out of the house and working,
yeah.
working with
And
other
doing
people.
literally anything else.
Yeah.
I was, I think, reading something the other day, which said something about like flow states. Really, you shouldn't do it for more than 3 hours, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And you should take regular 15-minute breaks, or even just stand up from your desk, walk around for a bit, and come back inside, because it does reset your brain. It gives a new, like, something about environment. Like, being as human beings, we're so tapped into our surroundings, being social creatures, but we never really think about that, or at least not often. I mean, you have people who are literally paid to do that, like interior designers or like feng shui people. But just like the day to day, like, we're so focused on just getting through our work that we don't really care about ourselves or where we are.
yeah, like forgetting to eat.
Yeah, or I mean, like global warming,
Yeah.
like from the small to the large, we don't often think. So taking a minute to get outside and just walk around or take a bike ride and get lunch, like, can do so much more for you than trying to force your way through an art block by like looking at Pinterest.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to do.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely feel like that helps. And you do, because you're like full freelance now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long have you been doing freelance for?
Well, I freelanced for a year during the pandemic, and then I've kind of kept that going since then. But back into full-time freelance has only been like 2 months.
Oh, okay.
This year.
Nice. You've been liking it? Been difficult finding work.
Luckily, like I said, my experiences in the past have given me some skills to be able to like talk with clients and get stuff. A lot of people think when they go freelance, they can just work with direct to studios, or like instantly get work from studios. But that's not always the case. That's great when that work happens. But what I'm trying to do, I went to a conference earlier this year, and it was a print and design conference. So really not related to animation at all. But almost all the speakers had a reel, which was very interesting. So starting to see how even people who aren't in our space are starting to think about, how can I provide more service to clients? But one of the things that someone talked about, which I thought was very interesting, was he's like, don't be afraid to do work for free or at a very heavily discounted rate.
Yeah.
Especially if it's for your community, because there's nothing like helping a neighbor. And I think that's how he phrased it. He was like, help your neighbors because they'll help you. And so that's what I'm starting to do. And I've been enjoying that so far. Like, I did a project for Goodwill, and it was a smaller budget than I normally would have taken, but I got to make their day and their week and their year, because it was a video celebrating their anniversary. And they got to use that at like their press, conference thing.
Yeah.
And it was at a big technical college and stuff. So it was like, it got to be used more than a lot of the stuff that I normally make. That's a 15-second ad that people skip.
Right.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah.
So starting to do more stuff like that, trying to get involved in my community. So, but some of that stuff just takes time.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of conversations, a lot of coffee chats and Google Zoom meets and all these different things just to build relationships. And then eventually that'll lead to work or not.
Yeah.
But when I was full-time freelance, a lot of outreach was done, I don't know, maybe every once a month, something like that, every other week. And that would just be like sending an email. But almost all of my work was through word of mouth, of people just being like, Luke really helped me out, and you should reach out to him if you need something.
Yeah.
So now that I'm back into full-time freelance again, it's a lot of like building up that reputation again and building up a network, and that work will follow suit.
Yeah, that's what I find too. Since I've started freelancing, it's like the cold outreach, I think, is good to get your name out there and get your stuff seen. And I'm just now starting to like do it again. I've just been doing it like in spurts this year. Just because I got burnt out from doing it. I was doing it like pretty much every day. I was sending out like 3 cold emails a day. And then when I first moved to New York, and then now this year it's just been like maybe like for like a week, once a month, I'll like, every day I'll send out like a couple to different studios and stuff. But yeah, same thing. It's like I haven't actually landed a gig from those yet. I've gotten gigs from either other like applications. I've been using Nova to find stuff, or word of mouth. Most of the time it's just someone I know is now working at a studio, or or like my sister, did some graphic design for a company last year, and then they needed some animation, so I got them through that. So yeah, definitely like networking and just meeting people is like the best way, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it's like I wish it didn't always have to be like that. That it had to be like you had to. I mean, I have no problem like meeting new people. I love like meeting, talking to new people, obviously. But yeah, it's like every time I do get a new client from like a word of mouth, they're always super happy with the end product and like recommend me to other people. And it's like I wish I wish like a company, a studio, animation studio would just give a chance to somebody that they don't know. But I guess that's just how it is.
Well, I mean, coming off the heels of a conference, an animation conference, where there were a lot of producers and people like studio heads there, they just get so much.
Yeah.
That's the thing of like their freelancing is more popular than ever, partly due to layoffs, partly due to people are just tired of like the gruel of working in some places, so they wanted something different. But like, how do you choose one person when you already have 20 really good freelancers? That you work with, and then on top of that you have people that are in-house. So there's just like, but at the same time, I was doing portfolio reviews at SCAD, and I told students, I was like, don't be afraid to like take a different job as your first job. Like it'd be very rare for you to get a studio job straight out of college. Like you gotta work somewhere. Why not work at Petco's marketing department, or something. Because like everyone needs animation in some capacity.
Right.
You might not be the most important work ever, but if it's something that pays the bills while you're still continuing to grow and learn and making those relationships and building that network, that's perfectly okay.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything else you want to add before we close it out?
No, I think we covered a lot. I'm grateful that you invited me to come on here. Excited to hear all these other ones, and I don't know. I feel like the kind of journey that I've been through is very similar to a lot of other people's. And when you first told me about the title for this, I was so excited because that is genuinely how I feel. Like when we were talking about making the reel and like watching it 50 times or 60 times, 100 times, whatever, there is this moment of like, damn, like I made that, and being proud of that, and like staking a claim in the thing of like, no, I made this.
Right.
Like I created something. So that title for this podcast really resonated with me. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think the more people talk about making and creating, I think everyone will be better for it. So get out there, make something, somebody.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for listening to another episode of And I Made It. Thank you, Luke, for coming on, man. It was really great having you on and getting to chat, finally meet you. Thank you to my buddy Nick Hassenlop for creating the music and letting me use it for the intros and outros. If you guys want to check out his music, you can look him up on Spotify under Nick Hassenlop. He's got some really good stuff on there. And yeah, we'll be back next week with another episode and another animator. So I'll see you guys then.